Thank you, Nancy. Is yours here? How's everybody doing? It is so good to be here on a very special day. We are recognizing a man who lived a life based on love, a life committed to service, a man who profoundly sacrificed everything for us and for the betterment of our country and our world. And with all the divisiveness and the partisanship and the rise of hate that we are being forced to deal with in these times, I can't think of a better legacy to reflect upon and honor and to hold ourselves to account here in 2020 than Dr. King's. So it's a real privilege. As the first African American to represent upstate New York in Congress, I know that I would not be standing here. It's funny, I was telling some folks earlier that in March of last year, I got the chance to walk across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, with the great Jon Nyquist, who we should pray for. He's been recently diagnosed with cancer. Strong man. 50 years, plus years, he marched with Dr. King along that same bridge and almost lost his life on what became known as Bloody Sunday. And the images from that day were broadcast across the country, and it shook the conscience of America. Within that same year, we had the Voting Rights Act. So again, full circle for me to be able to stand with giants who've made sure that we're in a place now to keep marching on. I kind of like dove right into some of the things I wanted to say, but I wanted to first just recognize the previous folks who spoke. I believe the County Exec, Pat Ryan, was here, Pete Schultz. I want to recognize him, Jon Nyquist, Beth, and Nancy for all of your work with UlsterCorps. I also want to recognize my friend Evelyn, Reverend Clarke, where she's going to come up here momentarily to speak about a wonderful woman, the late Esther Taylor-Evans, such a giant in our community. I just want to thank all the volunteers, all the people here who give it themselves. Yes. Because at the end of the day, it's about service. It's about giving of yourself for others. And Dr. King, when he was in jail in Birmingham, Alabama, he talked about how love is sort of a guiding principle, and it's grounded in this notion that we're all connected with each other. And he said, quote, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." And it's important to understand that love has to win. Love has to win in these times. Love is at the heart of democracy. That's why we believe in democracy. You don't believe in democracy unless you believe we are all equal. And this notion that we're all equal comes from this point that we're all human, and that our dignity comes from a higher power. And so that if we're equal before God, if we're equal in our dignity, then we should be equal before our government. We should all have the opportunity to vote. We should all have the opportunity to pursue our happiness, irrespective of one's race, class, gender, or sexual orientation. This is the promise of America, and this is what we've set ourselves toward since our inception. It's been a struggle, but we've always been marching forward, always trying to perfect the union, through the ups and downs, making a way, expanding the compass of our morality, expanding the mission of democracy every step of the way. And now we're in the midst of a fight where that has to continue. Champions of democracy lead with love. And those who peril upon its affairs or prey upon its affairs lead with hate. They seek to divide. They demonize others. They demagogue. They race bait. They fear monger. And they employ scare tactics. None of that is who we fundamentally are as a country. None of that is in the inscription of the Statue of Liberty, which says, "Give me your sick, your poor, your huddled masses who yearn to breathe free." This is who we are at the end of the day. King knew it. That's why he put his life on the line for every one of us. And so I just want to say that the work we're doing here, the work you're doing here, the service, the love you're giving is so critical. It is so necessary. Now we have to engage with each other across the political spectrum. Talk to each other. Embrace one another. Because only through love, King said, can you turn an enemy into a friend. And I don't believe anybody is my enemy. Nobody should be your enemy because you might be a Republican or a Democrat. We should not be enemies. We're Americans. And so I just hope that we continue to love each other, continue to grow, continue to serve. And the work of UlsterCorps speaks to that. I got a few notes here, 20,000 pounds of fruits and vegetables to our food and pantries and local group soup kitchens in the last 11 years, something like that. Does that sound right? Executed coat drives, and I know she will. And building homes for Habitat for Humanity. It's that constant dedication to give back and build that comes from compassion and understanding and respect and decency. And I just want to say I'm grateful to UlsterCorps for those 11 years of building this network. And I think it's highly consistent with the legacy of Dr. King. Your work and your commitment give me a lot of hope in these difficult and divided times. It is inspiring to know that there are passionate groups out there, and individuals and communities like ours who are dedicated to the mission of love.